Tonight, the silent killer. A family from Fife whose daughter died from sepsis say proper procedures were not followed in her treatment.
It is the worst feeling that you could have. I don't want to harm to anybody else.
Also making the headlines, train commuters will be paying extra as ScotRail fares go up nearly 4%. And how African music and Afro beats are fast becoming the new sound on the scene in Glasgow. I'm John Mackay. This is the STV News at 6. Good evening. A family from Fife whose daughter died from sepsis say they don't want what happened to her to happen to anyone else. They're now calling for complaints about NHS treatment to be independently investigated. Scott and Christine Herd believe proper procedures were not followed after Jessica was admitted to hospital in the summer of 2020. She died days later. NHS Fife says a review found the care provided was appropriate, while the Crown Office decided a fatal accident inquiry was not in the public interest. Here's our senior reporter, Gordon Cree.
The black and white ones?
Yeah. At home in Collinsborough, the Herds have lots of photos of Jessica. They cherish the memories, and it's clear nearly 5 years since her death, the pain of losing her is still raw.
Is there a lot? Keep us biting her to walk in the door. Sometimes you sit and you think, oh, shadows went by. You think, oh, she's playing games.
Jessica, who was 26 when she died, had suffered from complex regional pain syndrome since she was a teenager. She was admitted to the Victoria Hospital in Kirkcaldy in July 2020 after collapsing at home. Medical notes show she was to be treated for sepsis, but the Sepsis 6 protocol, which outlines procedures which should be undertaken within the first hour of the condition being recognised, was not followed. A subsequent review into the case noted that, but concluded it had no impact on the final outcome.
We kept on getting, the medical director kept coming back and saying it wouldn't have changed the situation. It wouldn't have changed the situation. Jessica would have still died. That I found absolutely galling. And I'm saying, but wait a minute, but you didn't do the Sepsis 6. Yeah, but it wouldn't have changed the situation. How do you know? You know, how do you know it wouldn't have changed?
In response, the Health Board told us a complaint into Miss Herd's care was previously escalated to the Scottish Public Services Ombudsman, which reviewed the case and found the care provided was appropriate. It also noted that significant adverse events review carried out had been thorough.
To lose a child, I wouldn't wish that on anyone. It is the worst feeling that you could have, and I don't want to harm to anybody else, and we need to tighten up their investigating procedures so that they can't mark their own homework, and that all investigations are clear-cut as much as they can be, and they're totally independent, and they truly learn and reflect.
The family have been pushing for a fatal accident inquiry, but that's been turned down. The Crown Office saying, at the request of the family, the original decision not to hold an FAI was subject to a review, carried out by a member of Crown Council who had no previous involvement in the case. Following this review, Crown Council confirmed there should not be a fatal accident inquiry. The family have been provided with detailed reasons for this decision.
We just feel absolutely hamstrung. Totally hamstrung, and if it's happening to us, given the population size in Scotland and the wider UK, what else is happening regarding sepsis? It's the silent killer. Do your checks and learn from it.
Gordon Cree, STV News, Collinsborough.
ScotRail fares are going up by 3.8% from April. The Scottish Government says the rise has been kept as low as possible to maintain the attractiveness and affordability of rail travel. The current discount on season tickets will continue until September. Our political correspondent Ewan Petrie is at Queen Street Station for us just now. So Ewan, what does this increase mean for rail users?
Well, this increase follows a rise of 8.7% last year, so it is lower, but it's still well above the rate of inflation. And ministers say they reached the decision after lengthy consideration to ensure that services remain sustainable in the long term. So what does it mean for the price of a ticket? Well, back in September, an anytime return ticket between Glasgow and Edinburgh increased from £16.20 to £31.40 with the return of peak time fares. This latest increase will push the cost of that ticket up to £32.60. And I think it's fair to say that news hasn't gone down well with all rail passengers.
Well, I don't think the train fares are equitable, so depending on where you actually stay, that 3.8 can be quite a hike.
The services have not really improved. We're paying more for it, but we've got to commute.
It might make me think twice if it goes up much more, to be honest, yeah.
It's probably justified, to be honest. Everything else has gone up. They've got to pay for it somehow.
I only used the train today because I got such a deal on it. I'll be using the bus if it goes up.
I have to come 5 days a week, so you can imagine that, it's too much.
And Ewan, what's the political reaction been?
Well, perhaps not surprisingly, opposition parties have been lining up to lay into this decision. They say it will be a bitter blow, it will cause misery for commuters, and it will hammer rail passengers across the country. Affordability and reliability are the two key elements to try and attract more people back to using the rail service. So it's highly unlikely this decision will get the Scottish Government any closer to its target of reducing car use.
Ewan at Glasgow Queen Street, thank you. A tragic end to a story that gripped a city. Early this morning, police recovered the body of Henrietta Hushti from the River Dee in Aberdeen. Police are still searching for her sister Eliza. The 32-year-old sisters, originally from Hungary, were last seen on the 7th of January. The disappearance sparked a major police investigation. Services of the river and river bank took place over a week before police ended this search last Friday. For more, we can join Gráinne Negrehan, who is live on the banks of the River Dee, near where the sisters went missing. And Gráinne, this is a tragic end.
It is indeed, John. Now, we do know that police have informed the family of Henrietta Hushti that the body of a woman has been recovered from the River Dee here in Aberdeen just before 8 o'clock this morning. And we do know that the body is yet to be formally identified. Now, as we know, this is the last area sisters Eliza and Henrietta Hushti were last seen now more than 3 weeks ago. And police are continuing to search this area of the River Dee to find Eliza, with police and divers and the Coast Guard continuing to search. Now, after the sisters disappeared, there was a major police operation to try and find the pair after their landlady reported them missing on the 8th of January. Now, as we know, the sisters actually came here, the very area they went missing, just 12 hours before their disappearance. They spent around 5 minutes along this footpath, not engaging or speaking with anyone else. We also know that Henrietta sent a text message to their landlady the very night they went missing, and in that message it said they would not be returning to their flat. Now, in a statement, Police Scotland said their thoughts are with the family and that they will continue to search for Eliza.
Gráinne in Aberdeen, thank you. A Scottish man has been sentenced to 25 years in a Florida prison after pleading guilty to transporting and possessing child sexual abuse material. Stephen Paul McAnally, who's from Tollcross, was arrested on a family holiday to Orlando in August 2023 after officers gained access to his iPhone and discovered almost 4,000 images and 70 videos of children. A humpback whale which became entangled near a fish farm off the Isle of Skye has been freed. A rescue operation began yesterday morning after it was seen struggling at the Invertote salmon farm, where it was caught in a mooring. Work at the farm stopped during the rescue operation by the British Divers Marine Life Rescue Team. Rescuers say the whale is tired but is now swimming freely. A 14-year-old boy has been charged after a police search closed a school and local park in Falkirk. Officers were called to Callender Park at 11 o'clock this morning. Pupils at Graham High School were told to stay indoors after there were reports of a person with a weapon. Police recovered an imitation firearm and specialist officers and helicopters were deployed as a precaution. The area has since reopened. Work has begun on an 18-month-long redesign of Glasgow's George Square. Billboards have gone up, giving public the chance to see the full plans, which are part of the divisive Avenues project, a £115 million redevelopment which has caused delays and disruption across the city. Tara Fitzpatrick has been finding out what people think.
It's been at the centre of celebration and ceremony through the centuries, and Glasgow's George Square is now on the cusp of its biggest facelift in decades. The removal of grass from the site is the first stage of this redevelopment, which includes plans for a water feature, more green space and better access for cyclists. And the designs are now on display.
That's a great thought, you know what I mean, for George Square and stuff, so that's going to be a very good movement, very good step.
I live central in George Square. The only time you ever really see it switch up is for the Christmas market, so it's exciting to see that they're planning a new development to kind of bring people back into the city centre. I feel like there's kind of been a shift in the past 5 years, post-COVID especially. Nobody really comes in town anymore.
I think one of the big problems is the lack of follow-up maintenance to these projects, and if they could, as far as vandalism, litter, graffiti, if they could keep on top of that, I think the people would certainly come and enjoy it.
Yeah, I think it'll look really nice when it's done. I don't know if it's like the most efficient use of funds, but it probably won't be that much as far as public works projects go, because it's just a street redesign. So yeah, I think it'll make George Square look much nicer. And I like the inclusion of cycle lanes. I think that's probably a good thing for the city.
The plans are part of the controversial £115 million Avenues project, a redevelopment operation plagued with delays and disruption across the city.
There's a lot of work to do in Glasgow to make sure that the city centre is going to be the best it possibly can be. We've got public spaces like George Square that have been, one of the real kind of sources of people coming and saying that they want to see improvement, they want to see transformation. So yes, it is going to take a bit of disruption over the next couple of years just to make sure that we get it right.
11 bronze statues will be taken away for restoration, and there are some who would rather that removal was permanent due to their links to the city's colonial history and the slave trade. The council say the statues will return in 2027, but they'll consider ways to acknowledge those episodes of the past.
From Christmas carnivals to the Olympic torch relay, George Square is one of the most recognisable places in the city. But plans to redesign over the years have proven controversial. In 2013, the unpopular red tarmac was lifted for the Commonwealth Games, but only after a £15 million project was scrapped. 10 years on, it's hoped that these new plans will prove more popular with the public.
A contractor will be appointed for the works, which are expected to take 18 months, meaning it's likely the square won't be finished for the city's second hosting of the Commonwealth Games. Tara Fitzpatrick, STV News, Glasgow.
Hundreds of trees across Scotland's historic landmarks have been left destroyed and damaged following Storm Owen. The National Trust for Scotland, which looks after the sites, say they've taken rare action by launching a public appeal to help restore the landscapes. Felicity Clifford has more.
Scotland's historic sites have weathered many storms over the centuries, but last weekend's red weather warning for wind has caused significant damage to buildings and gardens across the country. Stormy Owen swept slates off roofs and damaged buildings. And here within the grounds of the Hill of Tarvet mansion, trees which have stood for generations were left in splinters.
We can repair the buildings and we can claim our insurance. We can't insure our woodland. When we look at the damage that's been caused, we've got to plan for the future. We've got to plan, do we replant? Do we replant different species? We need the public's help to guide us, but also to fund. It's not a cheap effort to clear up and then plan and replant.
Now, the National Trust for Scotland have launched an online appeal for donations to help pay for restoring gardens and woodlands. But for the teams on the ground, the focus is safety ahead of replanting.
In terms of the staff here, we've got to cross-cut and clear timber for the next few days / couple of weeks. And it means that after the storm, there's areas that you just can't access, so we've got to think about taking time to make areas safe.
The charity say this is the first time they've had to take this kind of action, and the true cost of the damage remains unknown. But they're hopeful with the public's help they can return these woodlands back to their former glory. Felicity Clifford, STV News.
Ronnie's here with the sports and big news for Celtic and Rangers.
Yes, good news for one, bad news it seems for the other.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith New Year Sale.
Good evening. Brendan Rodgers says he'll be bitterly disappointed if Celtic supporters are locked out of their Champions League away tie against Bayern Munich. It comes after the Parkhead club were hit with another UEFA sanction for fan behaviour. Meanwhile, Philippe Clement says Rangers can beat any team in the Europa League after the Ibrox side made it through to the last 16 with a dramatic 2-1 win over Union Saint-Gilloise.
The Parkhead club today confirming UEFA have issued a disciplinary notice after a smoke bomb was thrown onto the pitch at Villa Park on Wednesday night. With a suspended ban already hanging over the club, it means supporters may be locked out of the away leg.
Well, I'd be bitterly disappointed for every genuine Celtic supporter. You know, for those Celtic supporters that are genuinely bonded with their club and their team and that have travelled near and far over many, many years, to even be at the risk of not going tells you the culmination of events that have taken us to that point.
And it's about every game believing in yourself, and I believe that on the day we can win against every opponent.
Yeah, I think, even when we got to the Europa League final, that shows. I think everyone believes we can, and we certainly believe we can as well.
You feel like we could go all the way in this tournament?
Yeah, definitely, 100%.
Well, staying with Motherwell, their caretaker manager Stephen Frail is hoping the club and supporters can reconnect following the departure of Stuart Kettlewell. It was abuse from sections of his own fans which led to Kettlewell's resignation after it began to affect his family. Frail insists the club can only succeed if everyone is pulling in the same direction.
We've got a good fan base. It was one or two of the elements that have taken it that little bit too far. It shouldn't be accepted in any walk of society, but unfortunately Stuart's made that decision for the welfare of himself and also his family. But we need to try and get this connectivity back with not just the good fans, everyone, to try and connect the club and make sure that we're ready going forward for this game on Sunday and for the rest of the season.
Hibs boss David Gray says there's no surprise that transfer speculation again surrounds Ellie Yuang this month. The striker was reportedly subject of a failed bid from English Championship side Blackburn Rovers this week. Yuang is currently sidelined with a foot injury.
I think Ellie's someone that every window attracts attention and speculation, purely because his attributes, his qualities he's got. And there is a lot of speculation around Ellie, but at this moment in time he's still a Hibs player, and until that changes, there's no real news on it. He just has to he's injured at the moment, he needs to keep working hard.
Neil Critchley wants to strengthen his Hearts squad further before Monday's transfer deadline. Hearts have brought in 4 new players this month, with 4 departing. Critchley says he's hopeful of more deals to come.
We've strengthened the squad. I never want to lie or promise anything. We're still looking, we're still searching. If we can strengthen, we will. There's nothing imminent right now.
Finally tonight, as the Six Nations kick off, Scotland co-captain Finn Russell says the team is entering the tournament with an improved mindset as they look to mount a challenge for the title well ahead of tomorrow's opening match against Italy. Our reporter Jamie Borthwick is at Murrayfield for us. And Jamie, what should we Scotland fans be expecting from this campaign then?
Well, Ronnie, so much of the build-up has been about what Scotland are going to be missing. In particular, captain Sione Tuipulotu is missing the whole championship through injury. But,
over these past few months, the feeling has been growing that this is the best chance in a generation for Scotland to finally win a Six Nations Championship. They've got the talent, they've got the experience, they've got players who know what it takes to lift trophies. Italy tomorrow will be no pushovers, but Scotland's mindset is for victory. And meanwhile, as you might expect, fans of both sides have been getting right into the Six Nations spirit of things around Edinburgh today. The scene is set, the talking almost done. A squad packed with club champions in the URC, France and in Europe. Scotland expects, and these players are eager to deliver.
I think we've come in with a real good mindset this tournament, which is, in my opinion, has been different to the last few or any of the ones that I've been involved in, which is great to see. That's been a point that we've kind of been trying to drive this week, of not looking at winning the tournament just yet. That's obviously the goal for every team in it, but there's a long way to go before you get that title, obviously. And you know, if we're to win tomorrow and the media starts talking Scotland up, the expectations go up a little bit. We can't let that affect us. We've just got to control what we can and make sure that all the outside noise doesn't get into the camp, and we just focus on our job, and we stay grounded and stay true to what we're trying to achieve here.
We hope to win, but it's very difficult to do it.
Very, very difficult. It's the year for Scotland to do it. Everything's looking in the right direction. Italy's been the first game off. It could be awful good, or it could be a long Six Nations.
The win is for Scotland, you know? They are sure for that. They are sure that Scotland will win.
Italia winner. So I love Scotland.
Italy are in Edinburgh with their own air of confidence. They shocked the Scots in Rome last year, ending Gregor Townsend's hopes of a title showdown with Ireland. And the head coach remains wary of the threat posed by the Azzurri.
They play a brand of rugby which is, you can call it intelligent, you can call it pragmatic, but it's very structured, but also they have the individual talent and the ambition to move the ball wide too, and they'll be physical. They'll look to compete hard at the breakdown. So yeah, we're expecting a top quality opposition like we'll get throughout this championship.
The Six Nations is upon us, and it all kicks off tonight when France take on Wales in Paris. But tomorrow afternoon, all eyes will be here as Scotland look to take their first step towards the dream of a Six Nations title. Jamie Borthwick, STV Sport, Murrayfield.
STV Sport, sponsored by the C.R. Smith New Year Sale.
That's all your sport tonight, folks. All the best to Scotland and have a great weekend. Bye for now.
Ronnie, thank you. Now, Philip has the weekend weather forecast.
Wet by the coast, with a high chance of sun and splashing. TUI sponsors STV Weather.
Hello and a very good evening to you. Well, of course, on this day last week we were experiencing Storm Éowyn. In contrast, today has been a largely fine and dry day for many of us. However, things will be turning wetter and windier as we head throughout the weekend. We've got low pressure systems out to the northwest of us. That will give us a squeeze in the Isobars, and that means strengthening winds as we head throughout Saturday and Sunday. We'll also see bands of rain particularly affecting the north and the northwest, so remaining unsettled throughout the weekend and into Monday and Tuesday of next week. Back to just now, and it is turning quickly cold and frosty as we head into the overnight period. Through the early hours of tomorrow morning, we'll start to see increasing amounts of cloud trying to spill in from the west, and also a bit of a breeze picking up. So temperature-wise, initially dropping to lows of possibly -5 or -6 degrees Celsius under any clear skies the further east we come. The further west, however, where we've got the breeze and the cloud, lows of around 3 or 4 degrees. Then looking ahead to Saturday morning, a largely dry start. There will be some freezing fog patches, particularly across parts of Lanarkshire and Ayrshire. A touch of frost. The best of any brightness first thing in the morning will be in the east. Then throughout the course of the afternoon, strengthening winds from the west, increasing amounts of cloud, but overall a milder day with highs around 8 or 9. Bye-bye.
TUI sponsors STV Weather.
And finally, Glasgow has long been known for its musical culture, and now there's a new sound on the scene. African music and Afro beats are proving a hit with the city's growing black community, with an increasing number of clubs popping up. Raheem Cham has been hitting the Afro nightclub scene to find out more. And a warning, this report inevitably contains flashing images.
Clubbing is nothing new to Glaswegians, but this definitely is. This venue on St. Vincent Street is the city's only black-owned nightclub, where heritage thrives, creating a space for unfiltered black and diasporic traditions through music, dance, and DJing.
This is just a culture that's just being seen now, and that's only being on YouTube. So why should we deprive Scotland of just not seeing them live? Or do they have to travel all the way to London just to see this? So if we become the advocates for it in Scotland, I think we should.
Sometimes you might do a show and you lose a lot of money in the show, but actually as a contribution to our society, it's a big win. So you've got to balance the business with the culture.
Capitalizing on genres like Afrobeat and Amapiano, which has propelled African culture to the world, this could be the beginning of a budding Afro night scene. Clubs like 142B Lounge has set the trends for Afro Glaswegian parties where mainstream African music is celebrated. This has paved the way for new promoters and even creatives to launch new parties like POB events. Catered for the Gen Z, social media savvy generation, this daytime party is making Glasgow the new destination for Afro parties, where the crowd is young, energetic, and wild.
Afrobeats and Amapiano music is gone mainstream now. And you would have thought 10 years ago would never be the case, but I think with the prominence of your artists like your Burna Boys, your Ashake, and especially people that started like Fali Poupa and stuff like that, it's like there was never really a place for them to come and play their music. So just showing themselves and other event organizers down in England where they say, hey, Glasgow is a place you can come and bring your talents and make the place more diverse. And sometimes instead of traveling over there, you can travel here.
For some, it's a unifying moment.
From South Africa. I'm from Ghana. I'm from Nigeria.
Unbelievable. I've never seen something like it in Glasgow. What an amazing time to be alive.
We're beautiful. We share each other's experience and we love and enjoy.
It's good that we have, events where we can all meet up, have a good time.
We're originally from Ireland, right? And we grew up listening to Afro beats, all that kind of music. So it was amazing, you get me?
I think it's important as a young person that enjoys being outside, kind of being around people that are similar to you, enjoying the same kind of music. It's always a joyful experience.
I feel like in the clubs in Scotland, they don't really introduce music and stuff like that. So when you do go clubbing on a normal night out, you feel segregated. But coming into these spaces, you see your friends, you're able to vibe with everybody, see your people.
I used to have to go back home. I used to have to go to South Africa to hear Amapiano, but now I can hear it in a local classical club.
As the crowd spills into the streets, Glasgow's Afro groove stays alive until the next dance. Raheem Cham, STV News, Glasgow.
I think Raheem enjoyed himself doing that report. Well, that's all from STV News for this week. Indeed, think about it, only a week ago we were in the midst of Storm Eowyn. It's been a much quieter since then. We will have updates in the news and the late shift tonight with Joanne Bonner, and of course bulletins throughout the weekend and online. From all of us, thank you for watching. Good night.